Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. Friday night NBA action. I'm going to give you a free play for me in this one. We're going to break down Charlotte at New Orleans. Guys, we are taping this on Wednesday night, so obviously both teams in this game are going to be in action on Wednesday night. We don't know the outcomes of those games, obviously, prior to this one, but you know I'm a situational handicapper, and I got a lot of different things that I look at in this one. And one of the things that I do when I sit down on Monday and look at the NBA schedule for the week is I like to look at the patterns of teams. If somebody's going to be playing a 3 games and 4 night situation, or somebody on an extended road trip, returning home from a road trip, and those type of things. And it kind of maps out some ideal spots for you to keep your eye on. And then if the games prior to that, like we're talking here on Wednesday night, play out the way you like them, set you up for a good play. You know, I don't know if you guys do any of that advanced looking on the schedule or not, or just.
Yes, I do something similar, but I also look for, especially if it's a good team that was knocked off, upset. If you see, you know, obviously Cleveland's playing Golden State and San Antonio coming up this week, things like that. If they've been upset in that game, they get some revenge. They may point towards that as opposed to overlooking another game.
You know, heading into the Wednesday night game, Charlotte is on a 7-game losing streak, and part of that is going to make them, I think, undervalued coming into this game because the public's going to overreact. You look at what you see most recently and you see a 7-game losing streak. Part of that losing streak is 5 of those 7 games were on the road. And they're coming home off of the road trip Monday or Wednesday night, playing Atlanta at home. This is their first game back off of that road trip. And if you look at that road trip, they played a murderous schedule. They played all the, you know, the best teams, you know, in the NBA. Teams that, if the season ended today, all would be playoff teams. They played the Clippers twice. They played Toronto. They played Oklahoma City, and they played Golden State in that stretch. So yes, they lost 7 games in a row, but you got to look at who they played. In the 2 games that they did lose that weren't 2 top caliber teams were games that were sandwiched between the Clippers and Golden State, which were look ahead spots.
And a lot of those losses were pretty close games, and I think they might have covered like half of them, even though they've lost 7 outright. Really, I think a lot of it attributes not only to the good teams, but Al Jefferson's been out and Nicholas Batum's been out, and I personally think those are their 2 best players. Kemba Walker's been doing crazy stuff on his stat lines have been insane, more so because he just had to. I don't think he's one of their 2 best players. He's probably their 3rd best. So I think going at this game situationally, I think you're spot on. It's a spot you've circled ahead of time is great. For me, I still won't bet something unless the math makes sense, and it's tough to know what the number will be for sure on Wednesday with Anthony Davis questionable as well for the Pelicans. So I'll wait back and wait and see what we get. I'm hoping for your sake you're getting a few points though.
Yeah. And that's the main problem about handicapping the NBA is it's really tough, especially now when guys get a little bit older. There's, you know, San Antonio, we've seen how many times in the last few years, you know, they just rest guys. You've got to be able to know what the drop-off is, and there's a few websites out there that are very good at that, where they could tell you, you know, if this guy doesn't play, this is the sort of drop-off, especially if you look at it from an offensive-defensive point of view. I mean, Shumpert for Cleveland, he's just a great defensive player. When he's in that game, I want to look for the under in a game like that. That's the first thing I look at. So when you've got teams that have players in and out of the lineup, it's kind of hard to get a good feel on how they're going to play.
And for the flip side, to complete this one as far as the situational play, for all the reasons I said, I feel I'm going to get some value with Charlotte. New Orleans is in a situation that I like to fade teams. They are playing on Wednesday night in Sacramento. That finishes up 3 games in 4 nights, finishes up a West Coast road trip. I love to fade teams when they come back home, that first game, back home off of the road trip. Everybody expects them, oh, you're back home, you're going to, you know, get back on track. If you lost on the road, you're going to get back on the winning track. And I've said it many times, these guys are human beings like everybody else. When you're on the road for games, and more so in baseball because they're longer road trips, but you're away from your family, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. I know you guys, if I'm gone for a couple days, I come back, the wife, the wife's got a list for you. She wants to tell you this. The kids want to do this. And they're distractions. It's called life. And, you know, people put athletes on pedestals. You know, but when it gets down to it, they put their pants on the same way we do every day. They might be more expensive pants, but they still put them on the same way, and they got to deal with same life things. And I think it's a disruption that first day when you come back from a road trip, and that's why I like to go against teams in that situation.
Yep, that's actually, I'll throw out a stat. It hasn't won so far this season, but it's a blind spot I'll play in the NBA. Last 5 seasons, it hits about 60%, but fade the team coming back from a 5-game road trip or more in the first half.
First half?
Yep.
Cool.
So there you go.
All right, there you go. Take Charlotte on Friday night. I'm expecting them to be a dog. My numbers, I got them winning the game outright, so I've got them winning this one by 5 on Friday night, so we'll be looking to grab Charlotte as our play here on WagerTalk.com. That's Charlotte in the NBA on Friday night. Be sure to check out the weekend all access at WagerTalk. You can get all the plays through Monday. Pick your favorite capper, get all of his plays, football and basketball, just $69. Be sure to check out everything else video-wise at WagerTalk.com.